Hey guys, welcome back to JDUB-Woodworks. So this is part 3 of a 3-part video series where we walk you through the entire process that I use from a raw piece of driftwood or dead wood to a finished product, whether that be an abstract piece of art or something a little bit more functional. The first video right here is about carving and shaping, really focusing on cleanup, removing a lot of the soft wood, trying to get some type of shape to create a vision of what you want to create. The second video is right here. And in that video, it's sanding and shaping. You're not quite there yet. There's still some imperfections that you might want to fix. And so now in this video, this is about finishing, and finishing involves a lot, right? So there still may be some cleanup that's going to require some higher grit sandpaper as far as getting that sheen that you're looking for. It may involve resin if you've got holes or cracks like I did on the one. And so all of those things take place in this video. We're going to skip through those processes that we use because each of these pieces is slightly different. And then we'll actually get to the part where we're putting on the finish and mounting that thing. So stick around. There's a lot of information in this video. I promise you that it's going to be good. If you see anything that you like or got questions, down below, guys, make sure and leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all those good things. Let's go.
Okay, so I use the torch on the back side or the underside of the cedar root. I really like this technique, and it produces some really amazing results. When you can't exactly figure out how to get your sandpaper or sander in there, this is a cool solution. So I will actually end up finishing this piece off over the burnt part with some polyacrylic, and it really makes it pop and shiny. So that's the look I'm trying to go for. All right, so epoxy resin's gonna fix my fish. The big crack all the way through, so I use the tuck tape, I get it set up level, mix the epoxy, I use some epoxy thickener, and then I just pour inside the cavern and hope for the best. That thickener really helps it from, over pouring and leaking everywhere. I use the same basically technique with the mesquite. I got to fill in those ant holes. There's a couple of little cracks. And so just follow the resin process, apply it, or don't. If you don't want to use resin, you don't have to. You would on the angelfish, but at any rate, this is going to turn out really, really nice.
All right, let's go over what we've got so far. So the resin turned out the way I expected. It's filled in those little ant holes. There was a small crack here. There was a little bitty divot right in here. There was a larger hole back here. And so I didn't have to do that, and you wouldn't have to either. If you don't want to do the resin, you don't need to. I chose to because, well, I've got a little bit of experience with it, but I really like the way that it turns out. And of course, all I've got to do now with this piece is just sand this down. I'll start with like a 120, get to a nice smoothness, get the rest of this this over smear of the resin off of there, and then I'll work to the higher grit. This one I'm going to take probably to about an 800 or 1,000 grit because the mesquite has that shine that I really, really enjoy for this mesquite piece. The fish also turned out well. I already removed the tape that I had marked off. You can see where some of that tape sticks. That's okay as well. Again, this needs to be sanded down to fill this gap. I also need to do a little bit of shaping on this fin right here. You can see that this one's a little bit more narrow, whereas this one's a little thicker. I want to get that down. And then I will sand this all down as well. I am thinking that it's going to mount like this. But again, I did not want to do the majority of that on the second video because this was so unstable here, it was going to break in half. So that's where we're at with this one. And then on this piece, there's all the burning and the charring, right? And so I can cover that with a polyacrylic, make it nice and shiny. I do have to remove some of the charcoal. I'll clean that up. That's an easy process. And then I just need to figure out if I want to apply the torch to the whole thing, which gives a really, really cool texture after I go back and sand it, or do I just want to get this to about a 320, maybe higher than that, and then be done with it and we can just put the finish on. Not sure yet. I won't know until really I start working through the pieces. So let's go ahead and get out the sander. I'll do time lapse on most of that, but just to show you how it progresses at this finishing stage. All right, so about an hour and 15 minutes, and here's what we got. So this is finishing off at a 240. I will take that higher, but I wanted to move to the other pieces. Plus, whenever I sand a piece like this, number one, I've got to use an air compressor, but I also use some denatured alcohol, and just to wipe off any of the residue from the resin. You know, you got to make sure to wear a mask, a good respirator when you're doing that, which I did, because that dust is, you know, it's not good for the lungs, right? But you get a pretty good idea of the smoothness on the front and the back. This still needs to get polished up. It's a little dull, you can see that, but that'll come with a higher grits. So let's move on to the fish, shall we? All right, so our little angel fish. Again, cleaning all of this up, that's just going to be sanding. But I do, if you can look at both of these fins, you can see how this one is much fatter. I want to trim that down a little bit. I'm just going to take a higher grit sandpaper and just use the sander and get that smoothed out and a little bit more narrow to where it looks and resembles more of this one. So when you're working with a piece like that and you're hitting this, again, take your time. It's going to take some time. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to start with a 60 on this one, just so I can get this leveled out a little bit quicker. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh my God. All right, so as you can tell, this is nice and smooth. It's been about 2 hours. I've finished off with a 240. All of this will get cleaned up before we do the final finish. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but there's still some goop down in here that I've got to get out. This wood is very soft. I opened up a hole right here. Well, guess what? It's on the other side as well. And so I'm really being careful right here because I don't want to open up a cavern that I'm going to have to deal with. So, you know, this is just a different piece of wood than the mesquite. And so when you get into a soft piece like this, even though fundamentally you're doing the same steps, you treat it much differently. It takes a little bit longer. You have to do a little bit more shaping, but you get the general idea. I even sanded down the fin here compared to this one. It's still a little bit larger, but again, I've got this hole. So I'm pretty happy with what we got right now. This is gonna look fantastic once I take it up to about a 600 grit sandpaper and then put our final finish on. So we've got one more piece. I'll walk you through what that looks like, and then we can get to the cleanup and putting on our goop. Okay, and here's this bad boy. Again, I had talked about how there's some little scratches and dings that were already here and part of the wood, but there's also a few that are because of me and using the grinder, even the sander in some cases, have made little marks. The only thing that I need to do with this is I need to take it to a 320, make it nice and smooth. I'm not gonna catch that on time lapse or anything. I'm just gonna use a 320 all the way around it, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then we can go to our final steps. All right, so this is all blown off, turned out really good. I do have a small hole right here in the resin. Nah, I'm good, I'm good. There's a crack that didn't take the resin. I didn't get the resin deep enough in it. But again, I'm good. Once I get this all moisturized, that'll look great. I've got to hit this again with, a 320, and also I'm gonna go up on the mesquite piece. This one is still giving me problems. I don't know if you saw that, but when I was using the compressor, it popped open this little gap right here. Now I could go back and put resin. It kind of looks like an eyeball, but honestly, I think I'm gonna let it ride. I still need to hit this with a higher grit sandpaper, so we're gonna do that. The piece over here, oh, this one is easier, right? It's harder wood. It's already very smooth. It's already got a lot of imperfections that are already part of the wood. I'm gonna use that to my advantage. So this one is essentially ready to go. So I'm gonna put that to the side for now, right there. And then this one is still gonna need a lot more work. So I'm gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna focus on my mesquite piece.
All right, so like I said, I'm hitting it with a 320 and I'm gonna move all the way up. I'm using 1,000 grit right there. 1,000 grit's also gonna be used on the cedar root. Did that by hand, and then on my fish, I do the same thing. I work all the way up to the 1,000 grit sandpaper to produce a real smooth finish, and it's gonna look fantastic. Take your time.
All right, so what products are we gonna use today? So I've got the furniture butter from Walrus Oil. This is a blend of beeswax, carnauba wax, pine rosin, linseed oil, safflower oil, and tung oil. This is like a paste, like a little jelly. I think this is actually a new one. And I just put it on with my hands. Now you can wear gloves, you can use a rag if you'd like. I have found that it's not necessary, and it's 100% organic and absolutely no VOC, so it's very good. It's safe to use. You can get this directly off of their website. I also have a link, an affiliate link below. So that's number one. That's going to go on our piece of mesquite. For our angelfish, I'm just going to use this beeswax from Cargin. So this is also a paste. I keep it in the fridge. I don't know why, but it goes on nice and easy, just like that. Again, I just use my hands. I find that on these light colored pieces of driftwood, that beeswax is really a good one to use. If I wanted to make this shiny, I might use polyacrylic from Minwax. I've got several videos where I use that product. And then for our piece of cedar, I'm using the pure tung oil from Walrus Oil. I love this product as well. I haven't used it in a while. So let's go ahead and go through the process. This is where it gets so much fun, right?
Perfect.
Let me see. So you can use a rag. You can wear gloves. You can use a little brush. I like to have a brush sometimes if I've got to get in little crannies, little cracks. But let's go ahead and get this Walrus Oil furniture butter. You can see how it's pasty. Let's see this. And there it goes. Gorgeous, gorgeous mesquite. And the furniture butter just brings out all the luster in the wood. It's absolutely amazing. You can put a couple of coats, so I let this sit a while, and then I'll come back and take a look and see if I need to put more. Oh my God, this is so cool. Okay, this is looking great. This is looking great. I'm gonna set this right here and just let that sit. I'm gonna get this a little closer to you as well, because I want you to see how that piece turned out, right? All the amazing colors and the grain from an old nasty piece of dead wood. So let's set this back over here for a little bit, and then let's get into the beeswax. Heck, I ought to use the Walrus Oil on this. Let's do that. I'll show you. We're gonna go ahead and use the furniture butter on that. That was just me making it audible because I've already got it on my hands and I love this stuff. Let me back you up just a little bit again. And there we go. Hello. Hello, you pretty fish. Oh, wow. That is turning out really, really nice. See how the color, how it does get a little bit darker, but you're moisturizing it. You know, it's still very blonde. The tone is still very blonde. I do the same thing when I'm working with those grayish pieces of driftwood. Oh yeah, baby. See that? That is turning out just amazing. Finishing these pieces and mounting these pieces. So as I put this finish on, again, I'm gonna double check here in a few hours. See if I missed any spots, if some spots that are really porous. See, here's where you need a brush. I can get right in there. Get right in there. I got to get in those little cracks too. Right? And I put it on pretty thick, man. Getting some of those little holes there that I didn't fill in. You know, and that's the thing. You start working with these pieces, and as you sand, you can create, you know, there'll be a hole, a wormhole, or there's a crack that you just exposed, and that can be really, really frustrating. Believe me, I know. It's happened on this piece, right? I mean, all that sanding, and then here comes a little hole, and so you have to make a decision at that point if it's a big deal for you or not. I mean, it's not cabinetry, you know. This is driftwood. It can be forgiving sometimes, but not always. All right, let's set that down. Bye-bye, furniture butter. Okay. What a fun product. And I don't get paid from them to do that. I'm a huge fan. So, all right. Missed a spot right here. There we go. So that's what I mean. You're gonna come back and then you're gonna see some spots that it really soaked in and you're like, it looked better before, let me put another coat on. And then once it's, I would say 24 hours, you can come back with a clean cloth and just kind of buff, you know, wipe down the excess that's on it. But allow it to soak in, allow it to penetrate. That's the most important thing, okay? Now we do the tung oil. We're gonna have to move. So I'm right here. Hopefully you can see all that and the light's good enough. Now with this one, I may end up brushing that on. I mean, not brushing it on, using a rag. So I got a little rag right here. I'm definitely gonna need the brush, but I get a generous amount. There we go. See, this one's gonna need 2 coats for sure, but oh my Lord. All right, let me go ahead and get this all applied. I'm gonna speed this up and then we can revisit on all the pieces, okay?
All right, so with a brush, a rag, my fingers, and everything else, I get the tung oil spread basically all over the piece, and I'm just really, really enjoying the way that this thing's turning out. Looks absolutely amazing.
Okay guys, well part 3 is done and we've got 3 fantastic pieces of driftwood art. Each one of them with unique qualities and beauty, but very different pieces of wood, and very different steps that I took to get these things where I wanted them. From the porous nature of this piece of driftwood to the curvature and just the shape of the cedar root, and then our mesquite flame, right? So this, hopefully in this series, this 3-part series, you understand at least the progression that I use on most of my projects. I went ahead and mounted these. I did not capture that on video, but I will get a couple of close-ups here in just a second, and we'll talk about those unique qualities for each of these pieces. So my driftwood angelfish, right? You can see where those holes were. That's okay, it looks fantastic. The resin, it could have been better, but I actually love the color and the way that it fades into the wood. And do you remember that knuckle that I cut off in the first video? I saved it, and that's what this is. So I have a metal plate on the bottom side of this that's adding some additional stability and weight, and then just a metal rod right through the middle. But you can see that now I've got both sides per my wife. She said, well, I don't know which side's best. So if you hang it on a wall, that's not going to work. So this ended up turning out fantastic. Our mesquite flame, so same thing, metal base, 2 rods. I welded this together, put the 2 holes, put some goop in there, and this turned out fantastic as well. I did go back and put another coat on this one as well. This is going to take even another coat. So that would be 3 coats for the angelfish. And then we've got this guy, right? So this is a gnarly looking, twisted, magnificent piece of driftwood that has just got some fantastic colors and shapes and qualities. Same basic principle here, except that I screwed it in up at the top with a small brace. So that's what I really enjoy about working with these pieces, is because you just never know until the very end exactly how they're going to be displayed or shaped, and it just makes it so much fun and just enjoyable. All right, guys, well, that's it. So listen, below I've got links to the other videos. Like, subscribe, send me a comment. That just keeps me fired up and motivated every time I get comments from all over the world. Let me know where you're at. If you're a driftwood enthusiast, an expert, or a novice, either way, let's communicate, because I'm pretty responsive when it comes to that. This has been a challenge, but it's been a lot of fun. You guys enjoy. Take care. God bless.